Hey, ladies, we have with us Mrs. Natalie Gouche, and I am so excited. She is the mogul mom, and she has made a decision to spend a little time with us this morning and tell us about herself and about how she started out with being the mogul mom and just a social media expert. So, good morning, Natalie. How are you?
Good morning. I'm wonderful. How are you, Latonya?
I am so good and so excited that you decided to take this interview because what I'm doing, I want to have an opportunity to allow moms to see other women who are successful that have transitioned from corporate America into doing their own thing. So tell me a little bit about yourself, what you did prior to your own business, as well as how many children you have.
Okay. Thank you so much for the introduction, first of all.
Yes.
I am a wife as well as a mother to one beautiful daughter. My husband's name is Nick. My daughter's name is Alexis. And, they are, the reason why I do what I do, so I can spend more time with them, be available for them. Anybody that's watching this knows that having a child is a full-time job and having a husband is like having a child. So you have to make sure that you have time for all of that. And at the end of the day, as much as we love our businesses, that's the reason why most of us do what we do. So,
Exactly.
did you say to tell a little bit about what I was doing before I started my
Yeah.
own business?
Hmm.
Okay. Well, that's a good question. I was doing a lot. I was working in corporate America, as we kind of discussed before we jumped on and started recording.
Hmm.
I was going to school at night. I wasn't married yet. And so I was doing quite a few things at one time.
Hmm.
And to be honest with you, I never planned on being an entrepreneur. I never planned on starting my own business. It was something that kind of budded out of necessity. And I know a lot of women that are watching this can relate to that.
Hmm.
And you kind of just, you put yourself in a situation where you start thinking, what can I do to make this situation better? Because I realized that I didn't have enough time with my family. I didn't have time to do what I wanted to do, and I just felt like there has to be a better way. There has to be a way where I can still make money. And I wasn't even thinking about, gobs and gobs of money. I was just thinking, how can I make enough to where I could leave my job and just focus on, my daughter because she was young at that time.
Hmm. Yeah, and I've noticed that too. Like my daughter Madison is 5 years old, and the question that I ask moms, even in the intro video, is do you feel like you can be the best mom that you can be after giving corporate America all that you have,
Mm,
Monday through Friday, from 8 to 5 or whatever time you start? By the time I get home, I'm so tired. I'm not giving Madison everything that I have. So, I
yeah.
mean, I'm glad to hear that. So, what is your background from a standpoint of what you did in corporate America?
Well, I went, well, let me kind of tell you what I went to school for. And one of the reasons why I felt like what I was doing was just kind of a makeshift thing. I went to school to be a teacher. And ironically, I'm teaching now. I'm teaching small business owners and women and men how to grow businesses from home. So I'm not quite teaching kindergartners like I expected, but I am still in an industry that I absolutely love. So I used, some of those skills and then just kind of the God-given skills that I have. But in corporate America, I was actually the almighty secretary of at the financial firm, and I was doing pretty much everything I wasn't supposed to be doing, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
There's certain things that you should have a license for that I was doing, that I was handling. So it was a very small office, and I ended up doing a lot of the kind of the grunt work
Hmm.
and things that again I should have been licensed for but wasn't. And I enjoyed it while I was there. It was a great learning experience, but I wasn't number one, I wasn't in the field that I went to school for.
Hmm.
And it wasn't something that I planned on doing. It's on my lap. It worked. It was convenient for me at the time, and I just stayed there. But after my daughter was born, I just realized like this is not what I should be doing for a long period of time. It's definitely time to do something else.
So, as you were in corporate America and you were going to school, and you started your own business while you were in corporate America. How did you balance your family and all of that while you were doing it?
Um, it was really tough, and I have to be 100% honest and say that I used the family that I had,
Yeah.
my mother, my father, my husband. We were engaged at the time. We weren't married yet, and he actually lived an hour and a half away from me, so I would travel back and forth. So it was very hard. And if I
Mhm.
didn't have that support system of people in my life, while I was going to school at night and then trying to start my business as well, um, I wouldn't have been able to do it. And so I encourage any woman who's watching this right now to sometimes we have to ask for help.
Yeah.
And that's just the bottom line. And a lot of people have a problem because they feel like they're not going to be superwoman, or they're not fulfilling their duties. But the truth is, in order to be the best mothers that we can, we need to ask for help. And so I used my friends and my family to help me. They watched my daughter while I was at school at night, sometimes 2 days out of the week. And on those days that I was literally in school until 10 o'clock, I would work a full day, first of all, from 8 to 5. I would go to school from 6 to 10 o'clock at night. And then, I know, insane, right? And then I would go home. This is not including the homework and everything else. I would go home and then I would work on my business.
Hmm.
And I actually want to make this kind of clear because I didn't mention this. I didn't start off in doing my social media business. I started off being an independent rep for a health and wellness company. And I did so well in that company using social media. I was able to, in 3 months, leave my corporate job. In
Wow.
6 months, I was able to triple my income, only working a few days a week. And I used social media. I used the internet to do all that. And that's when I said, okay, so this is my calling here. The health and wellness thing worked out for me because it allowed me to leave my job. It allowed me to spend more time with my daughter. But through doing that, I found out what I was really, really good at. And that's where the social media came from.
Awesome. So you were able to build quite a bit of a following on social media, and you like kind of cracked the code.
Yeah, and you know what? It was all through experience. When people work with me, and a lot of my clients, they're small business owners. I now have some celebrity clients and things like that. But the reality of it is, I'm not the textbook taught social media trainer. I don't know that there is anyone out there, but they're just starting to do classes and things like that at the colleges. But I learned this stuff. I learned how not to spam people. I learned how to build relationships with people. I learned what people want to hear and what just flat out doesn't work. And I've taken that stuff, and trust me, I worked on that for a few years before I decided that this was something that I wanted to do to help other people. I was doing it very unofficially,
Hmm.
just kind of training people here and there. And then I thought this can be something that really I can really build upon. And I just took the knowledge, and some of the kind of case studies from people that I had helped, and I ran with it.
Hold on one second. This thing is freezing up.
Nope,
So,
no
okay.
problem.
Okay. So yeah, you were saying that you took some of the case studies.
Yes, some of the people that had come to me for help,
Mhm.
that they weren't necessarily my clients yet. This was very, I mean, when I say unofficial, I mean people would call me up and say, Natalie, how did you do what you did? How were you able to leave your job? How were you able to sponsor and get sales and do all of these things online? And I would just say, oh, come over to my house. I'm going to be doing a little training at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And it was just for women, or people who wanted to know how to do what I did. And I
Yeah.
didn't think anything of it. It was just me sharing what worked. And through doing those, it dawned on me that people really, really need this. And I kind of started to expand outside of the people that were in the same company that I was in. I expanded out to just people in general, women in general, people who had a small business owner that just needed to know how to grow it online.
Mhm. That's good. You answered so many questions that I have because my next question was how did you build momentum and get your first client? And you just answered that. So thank you so much. So,
Yes.
what is one piece of information that you would give to somebody who is considering leaving their job and starting their own gig? What one thing would you tell them that has impacted you the most?
I would say to find a mentor. It's important to find someone who's doing what you want to do and who is in the same situation as you. And I say that because there were a few people in that, the last few years that have unofficially been my mentor and then officially been my mentor. There's people that I followed who it just made sense to follow them. And I'm going to say that because people say, find a mentor to follow. Well, here's how I felt. I wasn't going to follow a male who wasn't married, didn't have any kids, and had the ability to work 15 hours a day.
Right.
I'm sorry, I can't do that. I'm married, I have a kid. So I want to encourage people to find someone who has a similar. So if you're married, maybe find a woman who's successful who's married. If you have kids, find a mentor who's successful, who's married and has kids and knows how to balance, because what they're going to be able to tell you is going to be so different than what someone else who is in a different situation is going to be able to tell you. And that's not to say that you can't find value in others who are different, but if you're going to be closely working with someone, I think it does help. And when starting your own business, they'll be able to help you through a lot of things that they've already been through. And, you're not going to be able to get past all the bumps and bruises of starting a business because you have to learn. But there are some really key things that you can kind of avoid if you have someone in your life to help. So find someone who can help you through that. And be ready to kind of go to war for what you do, because it's not easy. It's fulfilling when you do it, and it's
Yeah.
gratifying, and it's so worth every amount of time, every penny you spend for it. But but be prepared, because it's some hard work. It's some hard work.
Well, I'm so glad that you joined us. And I know that I'm going to, on the thank you page that these ladies get, I'm going to allow them to contact you and stay in touch with you as well. And I'm just so excited that you agreed to do this. So thank you very much. We all appreciate it. And
Absolutely.
and we'll see you on the other side.
Thank you so much.